Evening, how are you all doing? So here we are, it is 2012 as you already know. Right, so we're doing a slightly, well, I say slightly, but this is all about the geek side of things now, okay? We're getting geeky, okay? We've got comic books, we've got comic book movies, we've got pretty much everything to do with the DC comics and other comic book related stuff, okay? So let's just get down to it, shall we? Before I start, anyway, those of you who may not have caught the back end of my review of Haywire, which I did last night, I showed my brand new tattoo. You want to see it again? Of course you do. Right, just get a good close-up of that. There it is. So that says Superman with a little picture of Christopher Reeve above it, and in Kryptonian underneath it says Son of Krypton. I got that about 2 weeks ago. It bloody hurt, but worth the pain. So yeah, there it is. Okay, so that's the tattoo right there. Okay, so anyway, let's crack on. What should we talk about first? DC Comics and DC Entertainment altogether. They're bringing out a new logo, people. A new logo. When it was first revealed what this logo was going to look like, well, many fans were not happy about it. It's understandable why. It looked pretty cheap, and it just looked really cheap, basically. But today they've actually unleashed the full varied edition of the different logos, how it's going to look on comics and such. I think, to be honest, if I'm going to be totally honest, I think this new logo is going to more or less push people towards buying digital comics. The reason I say that is because there's a picture on the DC Universe website of a logo that is being shown as it unfolds. You've got Green Lantern in the background. So there's going to be animated versions. You're obviously going to get the normal ones on the actual paper form comic books. But like I say, I think that there's a digital side to it. There's going to be an interactive, sort of like animated version of this new logo. As I say, not many people are happy about it, because the current logo that they've got has been around not that long, to be perfectly honest. I think as way back as 2005, maybe earlier than that, so it's not been around that long. But I don't know, we'll see when it comes out, when it's printed on the comics and whatnot. We'll see how it all looks and how it all turns out. So nothing more you can do really at the end of the day. When they change their brand, they change their brand. What else can we do about it? Moving swiftly on from there, again to do with DC Universe, they are getting rid of 6 comics towards May and onwards, and they're replacing it with what they have dubbed the second wave. Now, two of those second waves are going to include, finally, the Justice Society of America, okay, and Power Girl. Okay. Now the Justice Society. Now what's going to happen is they are going to be from Earth 2. Okay, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But one of the stories that has been pointed out, especially by Paul Levitz, who's actually going to write the story, is called World's Finest. Now, don't get this mixed up with the Superman Batman version of World's Finest, because if you look at how this one is spelled, it's Worlds with the apostrophe after the S, as opposed to Worlds with the apostrophe before the S. Okay, so, and this particular World's Finest from Earth 2 is going to feature both Power Girl and Huntress, and I'm really looking forward to that, because I've been reading the current 6-issue series of Huntress, and I've been loving the story so far. And Helena just looks amazing, and the character's been well written. So yes, if you haven't picked up those issues, I suggest you do. One more issue to go, and I will be doing a full-on review of that once I finished all six issues of that. So yeah, World's Finest. Yeah, Power Girl and Huntress team up. That's definitely a reverse action of Superman and Batman, that is, I tell you. What else have we got? So there's so much happening with DC Comics at the moment. I mean, you know, we've seen the solicits for the 8th issues of the comic books as well, especially in particular Batman, Superman, Action Comics. You know, I've read Batman number 5 today, and it was intense. Very dark, very intense. It's probably the darkest issue I've read of a Batman comic so far. So hats off to both Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, because that was amazing. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Please read it. Let me know what you thought of it. So yeah, that was Batman number 5. Action Comics number 5 as well was fantastic. Again, get that if you haven't and read it. You know, ever since the reboot, the relaunch or whatnot, you know, some of these comics are actually standing on their own. They're standing on their own, and they are making a name for themselves. Justice League obviously is doing well. Batgirl is doing extremely well. So, you know, they're all there. Aquaman as well. It's absolutely fantastic. I love Aquaman. So it's nice to see that he's actually got his own story at last. So Jeff Johns, you know, Jim Lee, Scott Snyder, they're all pulling the stops out there. So all interesting. A couple of other things to look forward to from DC Comics later on this year. We've got the Absolute Edition, okay, Absolute, you know what I'm like with my Absolute collection, of Final Crisis. This was the event that took place roughly around about 2009, 2010, probably a bit earlier, where evil won. Darkseid took over, basically. And yeah, an interesting event, but the 7-issue of Final Crisis, also including the 2 issues of Superman Beyond and unseen artwork and all that sort of stuff, is going to be put together in an Absolute Edition, so I cannot wait to get that. And I think that's been released in, I think, June or July of this year. We've also got Batman Earth 1 being written by Jeff Johns and art is by Gary Frank. Now, you know what those two are like when they're together, okay? If you've read Superman Secret Origin, you know what they're like. You've read Superman Brainiac, again, you know what they're like. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jeff and Gary do for Batman Earth 1. Superman Earth 1 Volume 2 by J. Michael Straczynski. That's going to be out again also later this year. What else have we got? We've also got Justice League Doom, the animated movie that's coming out next month, and that's based on the Justice League of America comic book, Tower of Babel. I've read that. It's a spectacular story. We all know how Batman has a way of defeating his other members of the Justice League. So he's got all the failsafe, all the, you know, weapons, how he can use the weapons against them if they ever go rogue. But it's not just the fact that if they go rogue, it's a case, it gets turned around on him. It's a case of, can the rest of the team actually trust Batman? And that's pretty much where it comes into play. So be interesting to see how that movie plays out. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Quick movie news regarding DC and stuff, like The Dark Knight Rises. We all saw the prologue. If we saw the prologue, you'll know that a lot of people complained about Bane's voice by Tom Hardy. You couldn't hear him properly. It was inaudible because obviously it was shot in a plane, so the plane noise was louder than Bane's voice and such.